Today we're going to look at a couple of things related to hell and the so-called immortal soul. So we're going to look at the nature of hell and punishment as eternal in the Bible, and if the result is eternal forever. And lastly, we'll see that the nature of man is never presented as immortal, that is eternal. The first thing to note is that the word Hades, translated from the Hebrew, which simply means the grave, is not hell, which is a translator's error and actually means something like Gehenna, which is also called the lake of fire in the book of Revelation. And that fire cannot be quenched or extinguished, according to the prophets in Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel. And the fire is called eternal by the Greek New Testament. But one thing to note, as F.F. Bruce wrote, is that eternal life is an abridged way of saying the life of the age to come, that is, the life of the resurrection age. So the antithesis to that would be the future fire of the age to come. The noted evangelical commentary, Cambridge Schools and Colleges, adds that the same Greek word is translated everlasting, punishment, and life eternal. In each case, the adjective in the Greek text follows the noun, the place of emphasis. The adjective eternal equals of or belonging to an age or period, whether past, present, or future, or to succession of ages or periods. It does not, therefore, in itself mean unending. And so the nature of God's punishment and wrath is said to come about by eternal fire and worms in the book of Isaiah, taken up by the Gospel of Mark. It's perpetual, eternal punishment, and it also looks like eternal smoke, according to Isaiah in the book of Revelation. Now, the result of all this is the end of the wicked. So we have the famous Sodom and Gomorrah event, destroying all those living in the cities. The wicked will be stubble, ashes, not a root or branch will be left. And this was the belief of Jesus himself when he said, "Fear the one that destroys both your body and soul in the lake of fire." Once again, the destiny of the wicked is a punishment of everlasting destruction, meaning its consequences are irreversible, total annihilation, as some call it. And the fire will consume them eventually, and worms are used as the image that consumes and eventually kills the wicked, and their souls, or the people, will die eventually, according to the book of Numbers and Ezekiel. And this is called in the New Testament, book of Revelation, the second death. Note that the Targums, the Jewish commentaries to Old Testament books like Deuteronomy and Jeremiah, also use this expression of the second death. Psalm 37 says that the wicked will perish, the enemies of the Lord will be as the fat of lambs, they are consumed. In smoke they are consumed away. Cambridge again says, smoke is the natural figure of speedy and complete disappearance, as in the book of Hosea. The wicked will be as the morning cloud, and as the early dew which passes away, as the chaff which is driven by a whirlwind out of the floor, and as the smoke out of the chimney. Now, in contrast to this, the Bible never talks about man or humanity in general in terms that might be misinterpreted as eternal or immortal. So from the beginning, we see that when sin entered creation, the world, man became mortal. That's why we are said to return to the dust and ashes from whence we came. And that's exactly what you find Abraham saying to God in Genesis 18. You'll find that a whole person is made up of body, soul, and spirit throughout the Bible. And this goes back to the creation of man, where God took dirt and molded a body, breathed into its nostrils spirit, the life breath of God. And then Genesis 2:7 says, we became a living soul. That is, man is a soul who has spirit, the life breath of God, not that he has a soul. So the result of death comes by way of God's breath of life, the spirit, returning to him who originally gave it. And that's all through the Psalms and the book of Ecclesiastes. Hence, Jesus and Stephen prayed to God, that is, I command or commit my life, myself, into your hands for safekeeping until, and the only way out of death, as we know, is through the resurrection of the dead. Obviously, this was the firm belief of Jesus and Stephen. Remember, Jesus himself had to be in the grave, in Hades, the underworld, as it's called in the Hebrew Bible, for 3 days and 3 nights. Jesus did not go to heaven when he died. The late Edward Fudge, who became a noted expert on this topic, wrote, "You will always be correct to remember that the Bible always ascribes immortality to the saved, never to the lost, always in the resurrection, never now, and always in a glorified body, never as a disembodied soul or spirit." And he, of course, cites 1 Corinthians 15, where Paul takes a whole chapter to go into detail regarding the resurrection of the dead, because, like Jesus and Stephen and all believers in the Bible, his faith was in the resurrection and not in going to heaven as some kind of disembodied soul or spirit.